Welcome to the session on the schools of Vedanta philosophy. And we have two distinguished scholars, not academic scholars like you and me, but those who know the theory part as well as the anusthana part as well. So that the gap is bridged in them. We have two distinguished sannyasis of the highest order. And for them it is said, na karmana na prajaya dhanena tyagene ekaiva amrutatva manashu parena nakam nihitam guhayam vibhrajayet yatayo shanti Vedanta Vijnana Sunishchitartha. In Vedanta Vijnana, Vakyardha has, the way we understand, the meaning dimension of each Vakya. We are not Sunishchita. That Artha is not determined. And that meaning dimension is what we supply to the words, the meaning aspect. And that Sunishchita is not there. There is always that ambiguity, that confusion as to what is the Vakyartha. And for sannyasis, the Vedanta says, they are Vedanta Vakyartha Sunishchitartha Sannyasadi Yogad Yataya Shuddha Sattva Te Brahma Loke Tu Parantakale Paramurshad Parimuchyanti Sarve Dahram. They are the ones who know the Sunishchitartha. And if that is the case, now let me problematize a little here. You have n number of schools of Vedanta and all of them were of the highest order. And one question that generally props up in front of all the Vedantins is, if we consider Acharya Shankara Ramanuja Madhva Vallabha Bhaskara Nimbarka Chaitanya Mahaprabhu up to Srila Prabhupada, RamKrishna, Vivekananda Swami, if we consider, and let us consider all of them are enlightened, have an experience of the Shuddha Chaitanya, whether Saguna or Nirguna, how come there are differences in the schools of thought in terms of philosophical schools? And this has a 5,000-year-old history for us. Bhedābheda, Bhedābheda. The relationship between individual consciousness called as Antahkarana Avachinna Jiva Chaitanya, Vedanta Paribhasha. It's an Antahkarana Avachinna Jiva Chaitanya. And a Sakshi Chaitanya which is Antahkaranopahita Chaitanya. The relationship between these has been a long discussion. So if one would tell you Jivo Brahmaiva Napara, the other will tell you practice Navavida Bhakti, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishno, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Atmanivedan, Bhakti and Prapatti. If one says Gnana Devatu Kaivalyam, Moksha Sadhana Samagryam, Bhaktireva Gariyasi, there is the other line. And the differences in terms of methodologies, in terms of the path that leads to realization. So, when I attended an assistant professor interview, this was the question. If everyone is realized, let's not doubt their realization, their integrity, because we have our weaknesses, let's not impose them on them. So let us consider that these are all realized, philosophers, darshanikas. How come the differences? If the answer is, it is because of the times in which they are situated, could be a Buddha, could be Shankara, and could be Ramanuja and others, it is to suit the society in which they are situated. They are to meet the demands of the society or a particular section of the society. Therefore, they have interpreted the text in that way. That's one of the regular answers we come across. Why the differences in the different schools of Vedanta? Then the answer is, if you look at the Acharya's Bhashya, whether it is Shankara, Ramanuja, Madhva, Vallabha, you don't seem that they are trying to, meet the demands of a society. They seem to be, 110% committed to a particular thesis. They don't seem to be answering X, Y, Z so that I will have a particular school of thought. That doesn't appear anywhere. They're committed to a particular school of thought. And therefore, it's open as to, the question remains, Yesterday Professor Arindamji was saying that every Upanishad be a Prashnopanishad. The Prashna remains. I'll take only 1 or 2 minutes, and then, because, we have wonderful scholar saints, in the midst of us. It's good that they have come here, sanctified JNU. It needs more sanctity. If there is any university which needs more of their presence, we know more than anybody. And we are able to organize a Vedanta Congress on this scale, on this land. We should congratulate ourselves. 10 days prior to this Congress, every day we were monitoring the situation in the hostels. Who will stop you from entering? What would happen to my inaugural? And that too, someone from Rashtrapati Bhavan. The worries were there every day. But, end of the day, we are happy that we are able to, continue with these deliberations. Ashesha Chidachid Vastusheshine Sheshashayine Ramanujacharya's Vedartha Sangraha. I am teaching well, man. That's a response. That's the first shloka. Ashesha Chidachid Vastusheshine Sheshashayine. That is the first attack on Acharya Shankara. Only 2 minutes, please. That's the first critique. Acharya Ramanuja could not wait for 2-3 more shlokas to attack Shankara. The very first line, and Acharya Shankara also could not hold himself to critique Sankhya. He waits for 4 sutras. Adhato Brahma Jignasa, Janmadhya Setaha, Shastrayonitva, Tatasa. And the very fifth sutra, he starts attacking Kapila. Is he a Vaidika? Is he a good philosopher? Does he know philosophy? Because Sankhya, Kapila was the Pradhana Malla. And for Acharya Ramanuja, Shankara is the Pradhana Malla. And for JNU, there are many Mallas. We fight them every day. And the presence of ISKCON, presence of their bhajan sandhyas have become integral to our facing these Mallas. And the first line critiques that Ekameva Advitiyam Brahma Nehananasti Kinchana Sachchidananda Swarupoyamatma Jivo Brahmaivana. It critiques, the very first line says, Ashesha Chidachid Vastusheshane. Consciousness has 2 more attributes. It is Chidachid Vishishta Lakshana. Therefore, Vishishta Advaita. It is Chidachid Vishishta. Both with jivas and matter as well. And then Acharya Ramanuja quotes Shabda Pramana there. Ajamekam Lohita Shukla Krishnam. If Shankara says there existed only one pure consciousness which is Jiva, Brahman and everything, Acharya Ramanuja says, under the Buddhist influence, what are you writing? Look at the Shastra, what the Shastra is saying. It says, Ajam Ekam Lohita Shukla Krishnam, Aja unborn. There is something which is unborn, which is Lohita Shukla Krishnam, which is of the Trigunas, which is of the red, white and black colored, in the sense of Rajas, Tamas and Sattva. It is also eternal. This is the Shastra Vakya. So there are 2 eternals, not one eternal. How could you say, Shastra is showing that there is a Prakriti which is eternally existing. And those die-hard Shankarites, please don't, I believe you don't have stones and eat. Please. Our Swamiji is one of I'm just putting up, as to. And the second point of dissent, Nirmalananta Kalyana Nidhaye Vishnave Namaha. It is not a Nirguna. Nirguna is absence of the bad qualities, not absence of the qualities. Swamiji will strengthen that line of thought. It is absence of bad qualities. However, consciousness is full of auspicious qualities, and it is Saguna, Sakara, Krishna Chaitanya. It is Saguna, it is Sakara, it is full of auspicious qualities, including Janmadhyasya Yataha. If you look at a Brahma Sutra, the very first sutra defines Brahman as Janmadhyasya Yataha. The one who is a creator, operator and destroyer, they are all gunas. Yatova imani bhutani jayante. This is Shankaracharya quoting. Yena jatani jivanti yat prayatya abhisamvishanti tad vijijñāsasva tad brahmeti. If Brahman's definition is Yatova imani bhutani jayante, the one who creates all these beings, the one who sustains them, unto whom everything dissolves, you are already putting up so many qualities. Brahma Sutra starts with a definition which subscribes to the view that consciousness is with attributes. How come the Advaitins say that it is pure, attributeless consciousness? Acharya Ramanuja's critique is the best. And Balasubramanian used to say, no one critiqued Shankara after Ramanuja. Nothing is left. Ramanuja has not left anything, including your Ashraya Anupapattis to Tirodhana Anupapatti. Ashraya Anupapatti is not to be seen in Vedartha Sangraha. I was under impression that it is there, but this time some student asked, where is in the text? It is to be seen in Sri Bhashya. Ashraya Anupapatti's credit must go to Bhaskaracharya. It is Bhaskara's commentary which says, where is the place for avidya? Does it exist in Brahman? Brahman's nature of being qualified as pure will be under doubt. Does it exist in Jiva? Jiva is a product of avidya. How can that be? And therefore, Ashraya Anupapatti is a very celebrated critique on Shankara's Mayavada and Avidyavada. I am trying to throw as many ideas as possible that can create more conflict between the Vedanta schools, right? So that, the schools existed. Chidajid Vastushesha is one problem, Ananta Kalyana, another problem. Primacy of Gnana, primacy of Karma, and primacy of Bhakti. All the schools and acharyas have different theses to give you. The primacy, we are not talking that, they are not integrating. They do integrate and use all the Gnana, Bhakti, Karma, but the primacy as to what is more, superior, what is more important. So, the Vada and Jalpa tradition continued in the Vedanta schools. The inner debates and dialogues, Satyam Param Dhimahi, Bhagavatam, the whole idea of approaching the truth, Satyam Param Dhimahi. Let me know the final truth, T capital. So, that Satyam Param Dhimahi was not always a dialogue between a student and a teacher, wife and a husband, but it turned into Jalpa, a debatorial model in which the whole effort is to win over the other person. And I like that model. As part of the dialogical tradition, you enter into a debate so that you want to establish the finality of the truth. So therefore, there are n number of such differences and agreements, of course. So let us listen to both of them, and then we will, let me not stand in between both wonderful speakers. We will then, you can chip in with your own observations and questions. We will first turn to President Maharaj from the ISKCON chapter of Delhi, Mohan Rupa Prabhuji, His Grace. He often comes to our center, delivers lectures on Achintyabhedābheda, Bhedābheda. He is a wonderful, speaker that you would all know. Swamiji, please.
So we are going to discuss Vedanta because the conference is on Vedanta. And Vedanta to Bhakti Vedanta, that's my topic. And you may wonder that what is this Vedanta to Bhakti Vedanta? Yeah, we are going to stress on that. We are going to stress on the Bhakti Vedanta. And let us start with this, trying to understand what does it mean by Vedanta first. So Vedanta means the Veda. Veda means knowledge, and Anta means the conclusion, the essence of all knowledge, the essence of the Vedas. The Vedas are the Anta, that means the end of the Vedas, the conclusion of the Vedas, and these Upanishads, they are considered to be the conclusion of the Vedas. That means the conclusion of the Vedas, they are actually contained in the Upanishads. And but if you see, according to the Advaitavadis, as mentioned by the Professor Shankaracharya, according to him, that ultimate conclusion of the Vedas, he says, comes into Mahavakya, 4 Mahavakyas. Now we'll try to study this more 4 Mahavakyas because it's very, very important. Because they highlight, this is the essence of all the Vedas. It is just contained in the 4 Mahavakyas. Okay. It's from my side. I will So we are going to discuss the slides, comparative studies on the 4 Mahavakyas. So we will just try to discuss the Advaita interpretation versus the Vaishnava Vedanta or the Bhakti Vedanta interpretation. We'll try to analyze that. And so key points. Advaita derive an impersonal understanding of the Brahman. Brahman is what? Formless. Is without qualities. It is nirgun, nirakar, and without attributes. This is the Advaita interpretation. And what is the Vedic test or the Vedanta? Vaishnava Vedanta, it emphasizes the personal and variegated aspects of Brahman. So if you see, logically, if you see, when we say variegated aspects of Brahman, what does it mean? It means that when we see so much variegatedness even with the material nature, within the creation, so that means what? So whatever variegated we see within the creation, that is said to be the reflection of the original nature. Urdhva maulam adho shakha. That's what also Srimad Bhagavad Gita says. This material world is a reflection of the supreme spiritual absolute truth. In the sense, it's a perfect reflection. It is a perfect reflection. So, Vedic Vedanta, the Bhakti Vedanta, it emphasizes the personal and variegated aspects of Brahman. That means, because the Brahman, the Supreme Brahman has got qualities, it has a personal form, and it has activities. The Brahman has got activities which are transcendental by nature. And those activities, those qualities are reflected within the material nature also. So therefore we see within the material nature also, we see variegatedness, we see personalism, right? So we say the Lord is impersonal, the Lord is impersonal, the Brahman is impersonal. That is also may be true, but that's a partial understanding of the absolute truth. That is a verse in Srimad Bhagavatam which explains this. Vadanti tat tato vidas tattam yadhyanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagvaniti shabdyate. So there are 3 features of the absolute truth. So the Brahman understanding, the impersonal understanding of the absolute truth is the partial understanding of the absolute truth. And then the Paramatma understanding, that is a localized understanding, the super soul. And the Bhagavan understanding, the Bhagavan realization, that is the realization of the complete absolute truth. So these are the 3 features of the absolute truth. So because the Lord is personal, we see so much personalism also within the creation. Now we try to analyze the different sutras from especially from the Chandogya Upanishad. This is the first Mahavakya. There are 4 Mahavakyas, they say, according to the Advaita interpretation. There are 4 Mahavakyas. So this is the first one from Chandogya Upanishad 3.14.1. So what's the Advaita interpretation? All forms, including individual soul and material world, are considered identical with the Brahman. Whatever you see, whatever form we see, it's all identical with the Brahman. Sarvam khalu idam Brahma. That means there is no difference between the material world, the individual soul, and the Brahman. That's the Advaita interpretation. And there is no real distinction between the Supreme and the universe, or between the soul and Brahman. So there is no difference between the Jiva and the Brahman. Right? This is the Advaita interpretation. There is no difference between the Jiva and the Brahman. It's same. That's why we also hear, Soham, or Ham Brahmasmi. So the interpretation, I am the same Brahman. And the next one, he says, what is the Vaishnava Vedanta? The Vedas accept the Brahmans and energies are distinct yet not different. That's what he was also saying, that is called the Bhedābheda, Achintyabhedābheda, simultaneously one and different. Brahman is energies are distinct yet non-different. Why? Because the energies, it belongs to the Brahman. But different energies which we see, just like in the Upanishads also said, Parashayar Shaktir Vibhadeva Shruyate Swabhavaki Jnana Balakriyacha. So Lord has got multifarious potencies, multifarious energy, which is also actually not different from the Lord. The power coming from the powerhouse, in one sense, it's also not different from the powerhouse. But at the same time, it is different from the powerhouse. Like you make a gold ring from a gold mine, the quality is same, but the quantity is different. Right? So basically, it is one in quality, but the quantity is different. Similarly, material energy, in one sense, is identical with the Brahman. At the same time, it has got its own individuality also. So energy, energetic, in one sense they are one, at the same time they are different from each other. Brahman's potency is real, but the variety within the creation reflects Brahman's transcendental nature rather than mere identity within the world. That means, what is Brahman's transcendental nature? What is the transcendental nature? The transcendental nature means the Brahman has got variety. There is variegatedness. When we talk about the material world being a reflection of the spiritual world, the spiritual world is full of variety. It's full of variegatedness. The Brahman has got attributes, Brahman has got qualities, Brahman has a form, personal form, which is not material in nature. That's why in the Brahma Samhita, Samhita is also Veda, it's a part of the Vedas only. In the Brahma Samhita, it was spoken by Lord Brahma at the dawn of creation. He says, Ishwaraha Paramaha Krishna Sachchidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govindaha Sarva Karanagana. So Sachchidananda Vigraha means he doesn't have a material form. When if you see the Vedas, we find this word Nirakar, that doesn't mean he doesn't have any form. It means that he doesn't have a material form. He has a form, but it is Satchit Ananda Vigraha. What does it mean? Sat means eternal, and Chit means full of knowledge, and Anand means full of bliss. And qualitatively, the soul has same attributes. The soul, as we are, spirit soul is also Sachchidananda Vigraha. Knowledge, soul, Sat, eternity, knowledge and bliss. That's also the quality of soul. But as far as the quantity is concerned, there is a huge difference. Like you take a drop of water from the ocean, that's not going to be sweet. That also will be salty. is it not? The quality is same, but the quantity really, there is a huge difference. So this is called oneness and difference. A drop of water is one with the ocean as far as the quality is concerned, but as far as the quantity is concerned, there is a huge difference. So similarly, the individual soul, the quality is one with the Lord. That is the oneness. In that sense, there is oneness is there. But as far as the quantity is concerned, there is a huge difference there. And therefore, that's why, so Brahman's transcendental nature rather than mere identity in the world. So basically, whatever variety we see within the creation, that variety is existing because there is a variety existing in the spiritual world, and material creation is being a reflection of the spiritual world, exhibits those varieties in a perverted way. Now the next one, from the Bhedābheda Upanishad and Katha Upanishad. The Bhedābheda Upanishad says, Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman. It's also there in the Vedanta Sutra. And then Neha Nanasti Kinchina, nothing is different from Brahman. So if you see the literary translation, it's very simple. I am Brahman. And that is also Brahman. So there is no difference. I am Brahman, I am Brahman, Neha Nanasti Brahman. So what is the interpretation is, individual soul is identical to Brahman in every sense. Not in every sense. In what sense? Qualitatively. Qualitatively, the individual soul is identical to Brahman. Qualitatively. So in that way, yeah, I am Brahmasmi. I am qualitatively one with the Lord. But not quantitatively. So upon realization, there is no difference between individual soul and Brahman. That is the Advaita interpretation. And what is the Vaishnava Vedanta says? The Vedas clarify that the individual soul is qualitatively one with the Brahman, but quantitatively different. And Ishopanishad also says, those who misunderstand the distinction between the soul and Brahman fall in deeper ignorance. The soul can realize its connection with the Brahman through devotional service, but it remains a distinct, dependent entity. So soul is not, it is not just two entities that are existing. That is not the end of the story. Now, this third aspect is that there is a relationship between the Brahman and the soul. Because when we talk about personalism, there has to be some relationship also. And the relationship is based on what? Devotional service. Here is the point where we are stressing the Bhakti Vedanta. See, Bhakti Vedanta here means it is not just we are speaking about Brahman and the Jiva, but there is also a relationship existing between them on the basis of devotional service to the Lord. Although the Jiva remains a distinct, dependent entity. So there is a relationship with the Lord on the basis of devotional service. Prajnanam Brahma. There's another from the Aittiriya Upanishad. What is the Advaita interpretation? Consciousness alone is a reality, and Brahman is solely impersonal awareness without attributes. The same thing, the Brahman has no qualities without attributes, but if you see the Vaishnava Vedanta, it said the Veda declared the Brahman is not just consciousness, but possesses personality, knowledge, power, and pastimes. That's why in Bhagavad Gita also, if you see it, which is called the Gita Upanishad, and the 4th chapter, Lord says, Janma karma chame divyam evam hyoveti tattvataha. Tattvataha. One who knows in truth. What? That my birth and activities are not ordinary birth, not ordinary activity, it is transcendental. Divyam. Divyam. Divyam, what does it mean by Divyam? Divyam means that there is no effect of Kala and there is no effect of Guna. That's the meaning of Divya. Divya means there is no effect of what? Kala means time and Guna means modes of nature. So both things doesn't exist in the activities of the Lord, which is called Divya. Janma karma chame divyam evam yoveti tattvata. One who knows in truth that my birth and activities are transcendental. Tektva deham punar janma naiti mameti. So Arjuna, he doesn't take birth again in this material world. So, what we are trying to say is that the Lord has a personality and is full of knowledge, full of power and pastimes. Therefore, if we read Srimad Bhagavatam is full of pastimes of the Lord, full of activities of the Lord. And all the activities of the Lord, it appears to be something of the material world, something of a powerful personality existing within the material world. But these are not ordinary activities like Lord Krishna lifting Govardhana, Lord Krishna expanding himself into 16,108 forms. So these activities are not ordinary activities, right? And these activities cannot be imitated. These activities cannot be imitated. And that is the difference, The Jiva cannot imitate the activities of the Lord. Lord showing the universal form in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, which cannot be imitated by an ordinary Jiva. It is impossible. So these activities are vividly described in the Vedic literatures. And therefore Krishna says, Janma karma cha me divyam evam yoveti tattvataha. Now what does it mean by tattvataha? In truth, it means that the Lord wants to say that you really have to understand me in truth. It's not an ordinary activity of an ordinary person, right? If a president of India is going on the road and doesn't stop at the signal, you cannot stop him. No traffic police can stop the president of India, right? Why? Because if you don't know what are the functions and powers of the president, one may commit a mistake. But if he comes to know what are the powers mentioned in the Constitution of India for the president of the country, then you'll appreciate his activities. So similarly, this Bhagavad Gita, it's a one of the very important Vedic literature. It explains the opulences of the Lord, the powers of the Lord, the potencies of the Lord, the supremacy of the Lord. So that is very, very important. Then we will come to know that Lord actually possesses personality. He has got full knowledge, full power, and is full of pastimes. Then that appreciation will come. So therefore, before we enter into the activities of the Lord, it is very, very important to know Him in truth. What are His powers? What are His opulences? That's what Lord Bhagavad Gita explains elaborately in the 10th chapter. He explains elaborately in the 10th chapter and the 11th chapter. 10th chapter is explaining about the Vibhuti Yoga. He is elaborately explaining about His supreme position. In the Bhedābheda Upanishad it says, consciousness in Brahman is coupled with love, devotion and eternal relationships. So there is a consciousness involved in this, but this consciousness is not ordinary consciousness. What does it mean by consciousness? Now I am conscious about my body. I may be conscious about my university. I may be conscious about my convention center. Right? I will be conscious about my dress, about my eating. But these consciousness are not related to the soul. It's related to what? To my body. When we talk about the consciousness, here, a consciousness in Brahman, that consciousness is supreme consciousness. That's why our name, our society is International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So, consciousness in Brahman is coupled with love, devotion and eternal relationships. So we are conscious of the fact that the Lord is the supreme personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, and we are supposed to serve Him, not just know Him, but we should love Him and we should serve Him. So in the Vedic literature, if you see, there are 3 different divisions in all the Vedic literatures, whether it's Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam or even the Upanishads and the Vedanta Sutra. In the Puranas, wherever you will find the 3 divisions are existing. What are the 3 divisions? Sambandha, Abheda and Prayojana. That's very, very important to understand. Sambandha, Abheda and Prayojana. Now we try to understand what is Sambandha. Sambandha means what is my relationship with the Supreme Lord? Or we try to understand who is the Supreme Lord, what are his powers, what are his qualities, and who am I? What are the qualities of soul? What is my relationship with the Lord? What is my relationship with the material nature? What's Lord's relationship with the material nature? So this is all called Sambandha Gyan, right? Knowledge of the existence, the material existence as well as the spiritual existence. Knowledge of one's relationship with the Supreme Lord, with the material nature. A relationship between the Jiva and the Jiva. A relationship between the Jiva and the Jada. A relationship between the Jada and Jada. Jada means inert matter. Right? And relationship between the Jiva and the Brahman. When I'm saying Brahman, Brahman here means the Supreme Brahman. The Jiva and the Brahman. So the relationship is existing. And the relationship is existing is based on the service, based on the devotion to the Lord. And this relationship with the Lord is called the eternal relationship. And this relationship is existing in the material world in a perfected way, within the family, within the society, within the country. Right? If you see, the Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, in the 15th chapter, text 7, Mamai vansho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatanaha mana sastani indriyani prakriti sani karshati. All these living entities are my eternal fragmental parts and parcels. When he says sanatanaha, the word sanatana means eternal. This is a very popular word now, sanatana. So this sanatan means eternal. And the Lord is eternal, the Jiva is eternal, and their relationship is also eternal, spiritually. So, this is very, very important to understand. Here, consciousness in Brahman is coupled with love, devotion, and eternal relationship. Tattvamasi, Shvetaketo. Oh, Shvetaketo, you are that. So, if we literally understand this, it means that you are that same Brahman. Ultimate realization is the merging of the soul of the Brahman, erasing all individual distinction. So we are all Brahman as per this statement. We are all Brahman, but we have forgotten that we are Brahman. So as soon as the illusory energy is removed, we will realize that we are actually Brahman. This is the meaning of this interpretation. Tattvamasi. You are that. You are the same person. You are that, not same person. There is no person there. You are also the impersonal Brahman, but because you are covered by Maya, or we are covered by Maya, we have forgotten that we are Brahman. We are identifying ourselves with the body. Actually, we are Brahman. Right? So that's the interpretation of Tattvamasi. But the Vaishnava interpretation is a little different. The soul remains a distinct individual who can engage in devotion to Brahman. Tattvamasi is properly understood as referring to the soul's potential for eternal service to the Lord, not an erasure of individuality. So same thing, I'm repeating the same thing. Mamai vansho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. The jiva is sanatana, the Lord is sanatana. The jiva is eternal, the Lord is eternal. And the relationship also eternal. It means that if I am Amsha, Mamai Vansho, what does it mean by Mamai Vansho? Jiva is eternally fragmental parts and parcels. We are eternally what? Part and parcel of the Lord. If you are eternally part and parcel of the Lord, there is no question of becoming one with the Lord. We were part and parcel, we are part and parcel, and also in future will remain part and parcel. That's the meaning of eternity. Mamai vansho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. So Sanatan principle means it will always exist eternally. I was never one with the Lord, I am not one with the Lord, and also in future also I will never be one with the Lord. That's the meaning of Sanatana. Mamai vansho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. So therefore, If I am Sanatan, if the Lord is Sanatan, my relationship with the Lord is based on this principle, is based on the principle of relationship. And that relationship is established by service to the Lord, and that's what it means, Bhakti Vedanta. Okay, another one. Transcendental vibration Omkar Mahavakya is a sound form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now the Advaita interpretation says that Tattvamasi is the Mahavakya, and this is a sound representation of the Supreme Personality of God. But the Tattvamasi in this Upanishad, it is not actually referring to the Supreme Lord. The Tattvamasi is referring to the Jiva, the conditioned Jiva, who has identified himself with the body. Right? So basically the Tattvamasi is a side remark in the Vedic literature. It is not exactly the Mahavakya. The Mahavakya is actually mentioned in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, which says, Pranava Sarva Vedeshu. I am the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras. So therefore you will find in all the Vedic mantras, it starts with Om. And Lord says, I am the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras. Okay, now you see the Shaitalsura Upanishad, what does it say? Na tasya karyam karanam ja vidyate, na tat shamas chabhyadikas cha vidyate, parashayar shaktir vividaiva shuyate, swabhaviki jnana bala kriyacha. The Supreme Lord has nothing to do. What does it mean? Is he sleeping? No. Nothing to do means he doesn't have to do anything which is material. The Supreme Lord is the Supreme King. He is enjoying. If he has got something to do, that means he is lacking something. That's why it said here, he has got nothing to do. Right? If you are doing something, that means you are lacking something. And you want to fulfill that desire. So, the Supreme Lord has nothing to do. Nothing is equal to him or greater than him. Natat shamas chabhyadik kascha vidyate. He acts in different phases by manifesting his part and parcels, which are all simultaneously differently situated by his unlimited, variegated potency. Parashar Shaktir Vivadeva Shuyate. Vivadeva Shuyate. Parashar Shakti, multifarious energies. Each potency acts quite naturally in sequences, providing him full knowledge, power, and pastimes. Parashar Shaktir Vivadeva Shuyate. Swabhaviki Jnana Bhala Kriyacha. Knowledge, power, and pastimes. Kriya. Here, Kriya means activities, pastimes. So, Lord has got activity. See, if you see in this verse, in the first line, it says Supreme Lord has nothing to do. And the last line it says Kriyacha, Swabhaviki Jnana Bala Kriyacha. It is not contradictory. It means that the Supreme Lord has nothing to do, means he doesn't have to do something which can provide him something. He is full in himself. He doesn't lack anything. Then what does he do? What is that kriya? What is the activity? What is that pastime? The pastime is to please the devotees, is to nourish the devotees. So his activities are all connected with the devotees. Vivideva Swabhaviki Jnana Bala Kriyacha. He was also conscious. But what is the difference then? The difference is explained here. Eko bahunam yovidatati gama. That is the difference. The difference is that Supreme Lord is supplying the necessities of life for many other living entities. We cannot supply the necessity of all the living entities. It is not possible. Within the creation, there are unlimited living entities. And the living entities are everywhere. So who's taking care of them? The Lord is, therefore it said, Eko Bahuna Yo Vidatati Kama. So again the difference is mentioned here. The Supreme Lord is supplying the necessities of life for many other living entities. Even those living entities who are not actually serving the Lord. They are indirectly serving the Lord. They are not directly serving the Lord. Those who have forgotten the Lord, because of the spell of the illusory energy. So they are also serving the Lord, but indirectly. Because material energy is also Lord's energy. It's Lord's energy. So if we are serving the material energy, so indirectly actually we are serving Him only. But it is because of knowledge, because it's without knowledge, because it is without knowledge and being covered by the illusion energy. The he is not even conscious about his own self. He is conscious only about his material body. So therefore, that relationship is disconnected. So when we talk about God consciousness, what does it mean? Or revival or God consciousness means the jiva realizes that I have an eternal relationship with the Lord. Therefore, my prime duty is to serve the Lord. Why? Because He is the one who is actually taking care of us. I should serve Him without any ulterior motive. So, now when we talk about Bhagavad Gita, see, all the Vedanta philosophy we see, it's mentioned either in the Bhagavad Gita or in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. All the Vedanta philosophy, we see in the, for example, Brahma Sutra, is all strongly recommended in the pages of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. And you see the glories of Bhagavad Gita, in the Gita Mahatma it says, Sarva Parishodo Gava Dugdha Gopala Nandanaha Partho Vatsaha Sudhir Bhokta Dugdham Gita Amritam Mahal. So, that's what I was trying to mention here in the beginning itself, that all the essence of the Vedas, teachings are based on the Upanishads is called the Vedanta, and the end of the Vedas, the Upanishads are considered to be the conclusion of the Vedas. And this Gita Upanishad, this Bhagavad Gita is the essence of all the Upanishads. There are 108 Upanishads. This Bhagavad Gita is considered to be the essence of all the Upanishads. This is called the Sarva Upanishado Gavo Dugdha Gopalanandanaha. It's like a cow. And Lord Krishna is famous as the cowherd boys milking the cow. Arjuna is just like a calf. And the learned scholars and pure devotees are to drink the nectarian milk of Bhagavad Gita. So what does Bhagavad Gita say? Sarvasya chaham hridhi sarnivishto mattah smrtir jnanam apohram cha vedesha sarveraham aham eva vedyo vedantakrit vedavid eva chaham. So if we try to study this verse very carefully, what does it mention? It mentions that Vedaha, by the Veda, Vedaha Vedyaha, Vedaha Aham Vedyaha, by the Vedas I am to be known. Vedaha Vedyaha, and then Aham Vedyaha, Aham Vedantakrit. Aham Vedantakrit means I am the compiler of Vedanta. I am the compiler of the Vedanta, Vedavit and knower of the Vedas. So 15th chapter text 15, the Lord says, I am sitting in everyone's heart, and from me comes remembrance, knowledge and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta and I am the knower of the Vedas. It's very clear. Bhagavad Gita is very clear. And because I said this Gita Upanishad is basically the essence of all the Upanishads. And the Lord is saying that He is the compiler of the Vedas, Vedanta. And by all the Vedas I am to be known. So therefore the purpose of the Vedas is to know the Supreme Lord Krishna. That is called the Vedanta. That's the conclusion of the Veda. That's the end of the Vedas. That's the culmination of the Vedas. And if you see what is Bhagavad Gita said, when we talk about this, we should also know that when we have understood that He is the compiler of Veda and He is the knower of the Veda, and by the Vedas He is supposed to be known, and what we are supposed to do. So that is mentioned in the 10th chapter text 8. Am sarvasya prabho matta sarvam pravartate iti matta bhajante ma Bhedābheda samanvitaha. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. That is the first sutra of Srimad Bhagavatam. Vedanta Sutra. Janmadi asya yataha. That's the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. Janmadi asya yataha yathonmayadi tartasya artheshu abhigya swarat. It's a very, very famous verse. The Bhagavatam begins with this, and Bhagavatam expands into 18,000 verses. This particular sutra is expanded into 18,000 verses by Srila Vyasadeva. This sutra, the Janmati Yasya Yataha, what does it mean? This means this: I am the source of spiritual and material world. Everything emanates from me. To explain this sutra, Vyasadeva actually has composed 18,000 verses. He has given us 18,000 verses just to explain this sutra. Janmadi Asiyata, that is Srimad Bhagavatam. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. See? So, when we know that he is actually the Vedanta, and by the Vedas he has to be known, and everything emanates from him, and what we are supposed to do, if we are wise, who perfectly know this, they will engage in devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. And further the Lord says, Matchita madgat prana bodhayanta parasparam kathayanta shamam nityam tushanti jaramanti cha. The thoughts of my pure devotee dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. This is what is devotional service. This is called the Bhakti Vedanta. Tesham satati yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mahapriyanti. To those who are constantly devoted to serving with me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. So there is a relationship with the Lord which is based on the relationship. Having known that he is a person to be known by the Vedas, he is the compiler of the Vedanta, we are supposed to serve him with love and devotion. Tesham evanukampartam aham ajnana jam tamaha nashami atma bhavasto jnana deepena bhashvata. To show them a special mercy, I dwelling in their hearts, destroy with shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. So Srimad Bhagavatam, basically, it's a very important Vedic literature, and Srimad Bhagavatam, it said, Nigama kalpatror ghalitam phalam sukhamukhad amrita davya samvitam pibata bhagavatam rasamalayam muhuraho rasika bhuvi bhavukaha. This Srimad Bhagavatam is basically the ripened fruit of all the Vedic literatures. So the elaborate discussion of the Vedanta is contained in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and therefore, and this kind of understanding, of course, takes many, many lifetimes. The Lord himself says in Bhagavad Gita 7th chapter, text 19, Bahunam janmanam ante jnanvam aham prabhadyate vasudeva saramamiti samhadma sudurlabha. After many, many births and death, he who is actually knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes, and all that is such a great soul is very, very rare. Hare Krishna. The time is running, so I don't want to extend my time. So thank you very much. And the highest type of Vedanta, Vedantic person, the highest type of Vedantic person is one who is chanting the holy names of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. We will listen to the other presentation as well, and then take it from there. Both the saintly scholars may take your questions or observations, it's up to them. Here is an Advaitic interpretation of consciousness. Consciousness exploring the intersection of artificial intelligence, AI, neuroscience. It's an Advaita perspective on consciousness. Swamiji, Narasimhananda ji is from Kozhikode chapter of RamKrishna mission, was editor for more than a decade of Prabhuddha. Most of you must be knowing the journal, a well-reputed one from the RamKrishna Mission Institute. May I invite Swamiji?
Om Anitya Drishyeshu Vivichya Nityam Tasmin Samadhatta Ihasma Leelaya Viveka Vairagya Vishuddha Chittam Yoso Viveki Tamaham Namami. Good afternoon to all. Namaste. When Professor Nataraju, when I was invited to come here and I asked Nataraju sir what should be my topic, and he gave some, he said about Advaita Vedanta. Then I said, can I make it about consciousness, because this is something I have been working on for more than a decade now. So he said, yes, many people will like it. And I saw that many papers here are dabbling with this idea of consciousness. And that is again, that is the problem I would like to talk about. Of late, because of what is told as the fourth industrial revolution or the fourth greatest revolution, AI, everyone is nowadays talking about consciousness. But the problem is they are not talking to each other. They are talking in silos. So the RamKrishna Mission Institute of Culture had, over a period of 6 years, conducted conferences, international conferences on consciousness. And 5 of them have been published as books. We had a Swamiji, Swami Prabhanandaji, who was the Vice President of RamKrishna Math and RamKrishna Mission. He passed away. When he was the in charge of RamKrishna Mission Institute of Culture, this was a topic nearest to his heart. He used to conduct conferences. If you go through those proceedings, you will find people from computer science have come, psychology, neuroscience, Sankhya, Vedanta, many schools of Vedanta, yoga, and everyone is talking about their take on consciousness. But now there is a problem with computer theorists or artificial intelligence scientists, computer scientists, because we all know technology is just mimicking nature. It's nothing more than that. It's just mimicking nature. One example in context is aerospace. So we saw the birds fly, thought we could also fly. It's interesting. The history of aerospace is interesting. Many people went to high spots, put something like some contraptions like wings and tried to jump there, and we know what happened. But so that's how it started. We started mimicking flying creatures or birds. So artificial intelligence is no different. We are trying to find how learning occurs naturally with living beings. And when you try to understand that, a big question comes, what is this which is called as consciousness? Because everyone, philosophers or otherwise, say that I am conscious. So what is it about? And that is where I always feel, and I think that could give solution if we could explore the intersection of neuroscience, philosophy, psychology, and artificial intelligence. And because I am a practicing Advaita Vedantist, also work theoretically in that field, so I have put it like this: artificial intelligence, I have dropped psychology, neuroscience, and Advaita Vedanta. Here the problem is, again, yesterday a professor was telling me that it is difficult to, understand that feelings are tangible. To a neuroscientist, they are very much tangible. You have a feeling of love, and the neuroscientist will see them as certain waves in your brain. To be more specific, in your frontal cortex. So, for the neuroscientist, it's a tangible thing. So what are we talking about? So the neuroscientists, they came up with this idea that whatever which we loosely call as qualia, whatever is subjective experience, how does this subjective experience reflect in one's brain? That means, if I am having, say we all had good lunch, they're really feeding you well. So this good lunch when I am having, what goes on as a process in my brain? That is called NCC, or neural correlates of consciousness. What is the minimum, bare minimum explanation, neurologically speaking, which you can give to any experience? And to understand, and that is what neurologists call as consciousness. So it's quite functional. It's rather functional. You're looking up, say, Instagram on your phone. So what happens in your brain? You're not looking up the Instagram on your phone and worrying what you're missing out. So what is happening in your brain? That is what, according to them, is consciousness. So whatever is happening in your brain and can be related to what is happening externally with you is consciousness. There is also another aspect. Consciousness, according to neuroscientists, is something which makes you self-aware. You are aware. Most of us are. As an Advaita Vedantist, I would like to not lose the chance to say that even people who suffer from complete amnesia, in recent past, we see patients suffering from Alzheimer's. The worst cases of Alzheimer's, they undergo complete amnesia, where they forget who they are. But they don't forget to mention this word or pronoun I. So they actually, I have actually unfortunately seen such patients. So they ask, who am I? This I does not go. Advaita Vedanta, we have our own interpretation for that. But this being self-aware, this is a critical quality as far as neuroscience is concerned for consciousness. So they are a person who is self-aware and a person who is able to self-organize. According to neuroscience, these are the two critical features of consciousness, where you can say that this is conscious. A is conscious if A can self-organize and A can be self-aware. Now the other field, artificial intelligence, there consciousness is if one can self-learn, if one can do learning by oneself, that is consciousness. And also if one can be self-reflexive. And the third important point, when one can automatically, in a nuanced manner, respond to stimuli. This is what artificial intelligence or artificial intelligence scientists think of consciousness as. The ability to, by oneself. So if a machine is conscious, it should be able to learn by itself. It should be able to respond to stimuli by itself. And it should be able to do things by itself. And then one would say that this is conscious. Now, interestingly, I don't think any neuroscientist, they all read books of course, but till date, I'm yet to come across any research where a computer scientist or a neuroscientist is seriously thinking about consciousness as Vedanta does. I'm not even talking about Advaita Vedanta here, just Vedanta, because as we just heard, according to Vedanta, consciousness is all pervasive, all pervading, omnipresent. There's no confusion there. So a computer scientist or a neuroscientist is not looking at consciousness like that. For a Krishna Bhakta, wherever yatra yatra Krishna, what is it? Yatra yatra chakshu, wherever eye falls, tatra tatra Krishna sphure. Yatra yatra nayana jhare, something like that. And there Krishna is seen. Krishna. Yatra yatra nayana pade, tatra tatra Krishna spure. That means practically everywhere Krishna is there. Now that is the case. That means everything is conscious. The microphone, and for Advaita Vedantin, that is of course the truth. I'm using this microphone, it is conscious. I'm using this table, this is conscious. Everything is conscious. The difference then is in the manifestation, degrees of manifestation of the consciousness. So this cannot respond to stimuli. This rostrum also cannot respond to stimuli. This is not, so it's basically consciousness is a given. It's the underlying reality, we say. It is the denominator. It is an overarching reality. You cannot do away with that. You cannot not factor it. But that is not how consciousness is viewed by either, even by psychology or by neuroscience or by computer science. And that is where the problem lies. So what we are talking about when we say consciousness, yesterday, like a professor, he very rightly pointed out about the meaning of words and the importance of using the original vernacular, if I might say, because German philosophers do that all the time, even French do that. I don't know why Indian philosophers shy of doing it, using the original nomenclature. So consciousness is not what neuroscience is talking about in the sense an Advaita Vedantin or a Vedantin is talking about. Consciousness is not what, so I would rather say prajnanam or jnanam or sakshi or chaitanya, whatever you may call, the different names, various words in Sanskrita. But that is definitely not what is being talked about by either computer theorists or neuroscientists. They are talking about the ability to be self-aware, the ability to self-organize. So this is a problem. And because of this problem, the publication industry and also many conferences are having their heyday. You have so many books and so many theories on consciousness. Yesterday, many people were talking about many theories. I think you have all got my paper, and my email ID is there in the booklet which you got for the Congress. I invite all of your comments on that. So this eventually will be published, so I want. Most of you might be aware of Alan Turing and the Turing test, which was a big thing at that time. That if I don't know who is responding to a question posed by a human being, the benchmark or the threshold is when it becomes indistinguishable whether the response is from a human being or from a machine. We have long passed that test. Turing test is now, it's a history now. But now the problem is self-reflexivity. Whether an intelligent system, like Swamiji was quoting the Mahavakya, Aham Brahmasmi. So whether an intelligent system can say, I am so and so person. And importantly, one of the problems why consciousness is being left and right used, the word consciousness, and also it has become fashionable nowadays, as I said earlier, to talk about consciousness, because there is a lot of misinformation, misconception about what AI really is. Yesterday I was having chats with many people and they said, yeah, AI is a bunch of programs, right? It is not. Of course, programming is definitely involved, but it is not just a bunch of programs. AI is our attempt, or it's a technological revolution where we try to create a self-learning machine. And what it has at its disposal, it has at its disposal the data which comes with internet. Loosely we can say that that is the collection of human intelligence till now. So it has this data. That's why when AI technologies started coming, like they started coming at your face, NVIDIA, company called NVIDIA, started making huge profits, because it is the company which produces arguably the best graphic processor card. And so images have to be processed at an enormous speed. And so this company's share price has gone up and it's still going up, skyrocketing. That means we have connected a loosely designed framework to be able to self-learn to a data of both text and images and videos, etc., of whatever human beings are doing or have done till now and are doing. So this, as many technological revolutions, came out as an after effect of military intelligence. So this was first used for the military, the army. So AI is not just programming. And many people say, oh, we are giving the data. No, it is not like that. AI is not, you are not feeding data. Many people are sitting and they are feeding data and AI becomes, it's not like that. Because the public face of AI is unfortunately ChatGPT, which is not AI. That's just, I would not say even scratching the surface. It's just a very infinitesimally minuscule part of AI. That is not AI. And so I asked some questions, Swamiji, it gave wrong answer, kya AI? So that is ChatGPT or Gemini or such Siri or whatever it is. It is not AI. They definitely use AI technologies. They are using that, but that's not AI. And also there is science fiction, of course, and unfortunately many times science fiction after some decades or centuries becomes reality. So people are all, oh, now what will happen? We will all go out of jobs and AI will start ruling the country, the world. That's again another misconception. There are books written by people, one, I forgot the name, but MIT professor, who is a professor of computer science, he has written a book on why that would not happen. So we are not there yet, and AI does not mean that. So there is a lot of misinformation and of course a lot of mystery surrounding AI, which leads to a lot of wrong understanding about what is consciousness. So first we have to understand what this is. It is not some people coding, it is not some people feeding data. At the same time, it is not going to take over the world. So it is just, yesterday someone asked me, which AI is good? I responded to him and said, it's asking like, which fire is good? Fire is fire. Now what will you use it for? It depends on that. So here, because of this, we are now in a challenge of understanding. We are in a philosophical challenge. So as Professor Nataraju said that we will problematize it, I will also problematize here. Our problem here is, we are not talking the same thing, yet all of us are talking about that thing. And that word is consciousness. So here first we need to understand what is consciousness. And as far as Vedantins are concerned, we will say that all these people are trying to talk about response to stimuli or self-reflexivity. That you can call it being self-aware. So whether a intelligent system can have an identity of its own, that's a big question. Like a human being or a living being has an identity of one's own. That's why we, in Advaita Vedanta, we say that this aham, this constant idea of I, is a peephole into your true nature. That's through that consciousness of I, the idea of I, aham, that is actually a peephole to your true nature. And in the commentary of Shankaracharya, in the beginning of Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, he says, why is it important to study about Atman? Why? He says, because there is a continuity. It is the same person who lifetime after lifetime is being born. So what is it that is continuing? To understand that, you need to study the Atman. So that, of course, neuroscience or computer scientists are nowhere near that, but that manifests in a embodied context, in a living being, as the idea of I. And that's why I said it's a peephole into your true nature. So whether an intelligent system can have that I consciousness is the question, which they are not asking. Basically, they are asking some other question. They are asking whether it can be self-aware. In a different manner, you can say, yeah, that's the question. Now, when you say this, you have to then go to Advaita Vedanta and have a dialogue. So we have recently started some attempts. There is an institute called National Institute of Advanced Studies near Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. So there is a scientist there, his name is Shri Roy. So he has started dialogues between physicists, neuroscientists and traditional scholars like me. I don't know whether I can call me a scholar, but yeah, I'll take the liberty. So we are having these conversations. It started last month, and we are planning to have such conversations every month. And so these conversations are closed door conversations. It is literally threadbare conversations, hair splitting arguments about what. For example, earlier this day we were hearing about Dvanuka, etc., Vaisheshika philosophy. So a Vaisheshika philosopher talks about what is atom, and a physicist talks about his idea about atom, and we go on and on. These are all recorded sessions, and we are transcribing it also, and it will be published after editing. So this is what needs to be done. We need to understand the language and context of various definitions centering around consciousness, and that's what is being done, but it has to be replicated elsewhere also. So here one big problem which we face is the problem about mind vis-a-vis brain. And neuroscientists, the majority of them are all saying that no, brain and mind are same. It basically, to quote one neuroscientist, mind is an emergent property of a brain. So he got a Nobel Prize also for that, I don't know. But that is what he said. And most people are simply reiterating that mind has no separate existence. Now this problem is where I think the problem of physicality. For a neuroscientist or for a computer scientist, it is important that things should be quite physical, material. If it is not material, they are not able to study, that's what they say. But I don't agree with that, because electrons are also, to my knowledge, cannot be seen, cannot be, they can only be inferred. So if that is the case, Atman also can be inferred. And we do that, we infer Atman.
Absorption in Vedanta, dhyana refers to deep concentration and mental stillness aimed at merging the individual consciousness with universal consciousness. Unlike merely focusing on an object or mantra, Vedantic dhyana transcends dualistic perceptions, leading to the experiential realization that Atman and Brahman are indistinguishable. This meditative absorption aligns with the teaching that true knowledge arises through inner realization rather than sensory perception. Next slide, please. In Buddhist meditation practices of insight into reality and consciousness, rooted from early Buddhist teachings, Vipassana emphasizes mindfulness and detached observation of sensation, thoughts, and emotion as they arise and pass. This practice reveals the impermanence, anicca, suffering, dukkha, and non-self, anatta nature of existence. Through continuous observation, practitioner understand that the self is not a fixed entity but a dynamic process. This realization reduces attachment, fosters equanimity, and aligns with the ultimate goal of nirvana, liberation from suffering and cyclical existence. Next slide. On Zen meditation, often incorporating principle of energy healing like Reiki, integrates mindfulness and awareness of the subtle flow of energy within body and mind. In Zen meditation, practitioner cultivate a state of no mind, tathata or suchness, and connect with deeper states of awareness, aligning bodhi, enlightened awareness, and tathagata garbha, the inherent potential for enlightenment. Unlike Vedanta's focus on universal consciousness, Zen and Reiki underscore the impermanence and interdependence of all phenomena, leading practitioners to experience the emptiness, sunyata, and transient nature of reality. Next slide. Experiential goals of Vedantic realization and Buddhist, next slide, Buddhist insight. Vedanta emphasizes a unitive experience where the individual self, Atman, merges with the universal consciousness of Brahman. This eternal, changeless reality is realized through the dissolution of ego and individuality, resulting in liberation or moksha, where Buddhist insight seeks detached awareness, focusing on the impermanence and non-self nature of reality. Insight into emptiness, sunyata of phenomena liberates practitioners by breaking attachment to the illusion of a fixed self, culminating in freedom from suffering, that is nirvana. Next slide. Consciousness, universal versus emptiness. In Vedanta, consciousness is equated with Brahman, the infinite and universal reality underlying all existence, where perceived dualities are illusions, maya. Advaita Vedanta emphasizes the non-dual oneness of Atman and Brahman, leading to liberation and unity with the eternal, fostering profound peace and freedom. In contrast, Buddhism's Sunyavada doctrine asserts that all phenomena, including consciousness, are devoid of inherent essence, svabhava, are interdependent. Through practices like vipassana, practitioner observed the transient and selfless nature of reality, dissolving attachment and achieving mental clarity and liberation. Next slide. In modern thought often reconciles these perspectives, integrating Vedanta's vision of a timeless, stable self with Buddhism's process-oriented focus on transformation. This synergy is evident in combined meditation practice like Jnana Yoga and Vipassana or Reiki, balancing inner stability with mindfulness and awareness. Such integration also informs mindfulness-based therapies, where Vedantic insights help foster resilience and Buddhist practices address emotional conditioning. Together, these two traditions offer complementary paths to understanding consciousness, Vedanta emphasizing unity and permanence, Buddhism focusing on impermanence and detachment. Their combined wisdom provides profound insights for spiritual growth and practical approach for personal well-being. Yes. In contemporary adaptation, recent years Vedanta and Buddhist practices have been integrated into wellness and therapeutic settings across India, addressing modern challenges and promoting holistic well-being. In therapeutic settings, Vedantic principles such as dhyana are used to alleviate stress, anxiety, emotional imbalances, teaching non-attachment and inner resilience. Buddhist techniques like vipassana, mindfulness are widely utilized in therapies like mindfulness-based stress reduction, mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, aiding emotional regulation and stress reduction. This rise in spiritual tourism has led to an increase in programs combining Vedantic and Buddhist teachings for personal and spiritual growth. Retreats in places like Rishikesh, Dharmshala, Bodh Gaya, other wellness centers make ancient wisdom accessible to contemporary seekers. This synthesis of Vedantic and Buddhist practices offer a dynamic, adaptable path to self-realization, emotional resilience, greater well-being, blending India's spiritual heritage with the need of modern life. Next slide. Next slide. Next. Yes. Vedantic realization and mental well-being. Vedanta teaches the realization of true self. Atman provides stability, fostering resilience by helping individual see beyond temporary suffering and emotions, identifying with the Atman offers a sense of peace, reducing stress, emotional turmoil. Additionally, Vedantic non-attachment vairagya helps cultivate detachment from worldly desire, fears, anxiety, promoting mental peace, clarity, especially during existential crisis. Next slide. Buddhist mindfulness, particularly Vipassana, encourages non-attachment through the concept of anatta, no self, helping practitioners release their identification with transient thoughts, emotion and sensations. This shift reduces reactivity of stress, anxiety, other emotions by accepting the present moment without judgment. Mindfulness fosters emotional regulation, reduces self-criticism, promotes self-compassion, which is valuable for those struggling with low self-esteem and mental health concern. Next slide. In present synergy integrating Vedantic and Buddhist practice in India, wellness centers mental health practitioners blend Vedantic self-inquiry with Buddhist mindfulness to address anxiety and stress. This combined approach offers a stable self-concept while navigating fleeting emotions, helping individuals develop resilience and clarity. These practices are also beneficial for those dealing with existential concerns, offering a framework for finding purpose and embracing life's unpredictability. Next slide. Benefits for mental health. Resilience, reduce anxiety and emotional balance. Vedantic realization of the stable Atman fosters inner peace and resilience, helping individuals remain grounded during stress. Both Vedanta and Buddhist teachings on non-attachment promote emotional balance by preventing over-identification with transient feelings. Buddhist mindfulness, with its focus on the present moment, helps manage anxiety by reducing rumination and promoting non-reactive awareness. The integration of both traditions offer a holistic mental toolkit enhancing resilience, emotional regulation and sense of purpose in today's fast-paced world. Next slide. The integration of Vedanta and Buddhist perspective on consciousness is significantly influencing global discussion in psychology, neuroscience, wellness, offering new ways to understand and explore consciousness. Next slide. Vedanta and Buddhist principles are increasingly incorporated into psychological practices, particularly in mindfulness, self-realization, non-attachment. Vedanta's concept of the unchanging Atman provides resilience, while Buddhist mindfulness, such as Vipassana, helps individuals release conditioned thought patterns. These teachings support mental clarity, emotional regulation, and freedom from self-limiting beliefs, offering alternative approaches to mental health issues like anxiety, depression, existential crises. Next slide. Impact on neuroscience and consciousness studies. If we observe, research in neuroscience has explored how meditation and mindfulness affect brain function and perception. Buddhist mindfulness practices have shown positive effects on brain plasticity and emotional regulation. Meanwhile, Vedanta's non-dual consciousness has prompted investigations into brain's connection to a possible unified consciousness, contributing to a broader understanding of the brain-mind relationship. Next slide. In the wellness and self-improvement practice, when we are discussing, Vedantic and Buddhist teachings are central to global wellness practices that focus on holistic health. Concepts like inner peace and non-attachment from Vedanta, combined with Buddhist mindfulness, have become key in stress management, corporate wellness, and personal development. This fusion promotes mental, emotional, spiritual well-being. Next slide. India's rich philosophical tradition creates a unique environment where Vedantic and Buddhist ideas can interact and thrive. The country's pluralistic culture supports an innovative approach to consciousness that transcends dualistic or materialistic frameworks, fostering a model of consciousness that is both universal and transformative. Next slide. India's Vedantic and Buddhist heritage serves as a foundation for global collaboration, exploring consciousness in a way that bridges scientific and spiritual perspectives, the teachings are gaining prominence in Western psychology and wellness, contributing to a shift in how consciousness is viewed, incorporating awareness, transformation, and unity. Next slide. In conclusion, the integration of Vedantic and Buddhist perspective offers profound and complementary approach to understanding consciousness, personal transformation, and mental well-being. While Vedanta provides a framework for realizing the stable, unchanging essence of the self, Buddhism offers practical tools for navigating the impermanence of experiences and cultivating mindfulness. Together, these ancient traditions offer a holistic path for spiritual growth, emotional resilience, and psychological healing. As modern society grapples with stress, anxiety, existential challenges, the synthesis of Vedanta and Buddhist teachings offers valuable insight, providing a rich, adaptable framework for cultivating inner peace, self-realization, and well-being. The ongoing dialogue between these traditions not only enhances contemporary spiritual and psychological practice, but also foster a deeper, more integrated understanding of the nature of consciousness. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji Mukherjee, for contrasting the two very different approaches. We'll wait for some questions.
Let me just ask you a simple question.
Yes, sir.
What I'm asking is, actually, I was influenced by Bhakti, Mikhail Bhakti, Russian scholar, and then another one is Heidegger. These two persons,
Can you put on the mic, please?
according to
No, you
the,
have to turn on the mic.
according to these two historic persons, Russian Bhakti and Mikhail Bhakti and Heidegger, you don't talk about the kind
The
of
mic is on.
dialogue between Mukhamukhi, Paksha,
Yeah.
the Pakshi kind
Yeah.
of thing. They try to dominate each other. Heidegger, then there is one book Heidegger had, another dialogue with a Japanese scholar. It is kind of a sharing of ideas, this and that. Even in the Indian tradition itself,
Vada samvada.
our dialogue itself is to defeat each other. Even Advaita Vedanta, of course, Advaita is an entirely different thing. Just now, they suddenly stuck in me, you know. I can't say this against Shankar.
Mhm.
To Narayana also. What they're doing is something, they're destroying the logic itself at the end of the day. What they affirm after destroying logic, that is what I was trying to say in my paper. I will not talk about that. So how you will manage that thing? What kind of model of dialogue you are going to follow in your, you need to call dialogue. What dialogue will you follow?
The dialogue here is on the implication, present society, application, because I am doing little social work after post-COVID, because I observed especially adolescents, kids, and with their parents, caregiver basically, especially in the COVID period, when they were absolute attached with the online, mobile and laptop, the attachment with those, it create a very big issue, problem. Even after that, we happened several wellness center I mentioned. I am personally also attached, and I am doing meditation practice workshops in there, especially in Kolkata based, basically Aragya Niketan and other two I am attached there. We observed either when with the help of psychiatric medicine or with the help of only counseling, if the parents are trying to detach them from this kind of things, they were severely attached. They could take either they start aggressive on their parents, especially on mother, which is create a very worse situation for the family, especially for the mother. So dialogue is that both the tradition, and now till now in India, we are not aware about the mental health, and we are not interested to, when my son, suppose if my son is going to for a mental health treatment, healing center or counseling or psychiatric medicine, parents are normally they're trying to escape from other, from society. Why? And if they mention it, other people, other relatives, friends, they treated that parent and the child particularly separated in the family get together. Or so this is a dialogue that we have to mention, that in Nagarjuna's dialogue of Sunyata is separate, that is philosophical. But when we are talking about Pragya Paramita, Nagarjuna's Mula Madhyamika or Sunyata is based on the Pragya Paramita scripture. So my focus is the Pragya Paramita. From Pragya Paramita, the Sunyata concept of Sunyata, it is giving the peaceful mental practice.
I understand. What you are talking about is only the
Therapeutic approach and mental health.
That is okay. Absolutely, you are absolutely right. Because this client-centered therapy is there, family-centered group therapy is there. I did study psychology also in BA in Madras. I have some general information about that also. That is very good. We know during therapy, the parents or whatever elders and teachers in the school also, they have to be accommodative. They have to first put themselves in the shoes of the affected child or the particular patient. One has to enter into the shoe of the patient. That's the kind of, based on that we can have that kind of a dialogue. Thank you. Thank you.
Anybody else has a query or question? May I have a quick question to you? Now, from an ordinary practitioner's perspective, someone practices Kriya Yoga, for example, or Vipassana. What is the experience of difference between both of them? Would you think they're different when you do Kriya Yoga, or completely when you do Vipassana?
When we are practice, if you like Vipassana, the breathing, Anapanasati, and Kriya Yoga is the posturing, different types of posture. But the affected people, they are not able to do, and better to say the boy who is aggressive enough, or the parents who are going in a very depressed situation, they are not able to do that kind of Kriya Yoga and this. And normal counseling and normal psychiatric medicine is also not helpful. So in that perspective, we have to sit them with them through dialogue and through their problem. We have to influence them. We have to understand them that it will give you beneficial for your own, with your relation with your parents, with your friends, with the society. And it definitely, it takes minimum 21 days. After 21 days, when they are doing regularly, the wellness center, that is why whether Rishikesh, whether Bodh Gaya, whether Kolkata, when this kind of patient are coming, this is always suggested that you have to come for 21 days. With the detachment of your family affairs and everything, you come, stay, everything with the food habits, with the daily routine like Vipassana. In the Vipassana center, if we go, we have to keep everything to outside, and the 20 days Vipassanas are there. We have to stay there, and then we will understand. When we are going with a mindful lifestyle, then we will understand the change within our body, mind and emotion. Spiritual is very higher level. So I'm not talking about spiritual. That is very laterally understood. Body, mind and emotion controlling.
No question, then we'll let her conclude and then invite the next year question very quickly. So, can you turn on the mic, please?
Yeah, that line, the mic is not working. I think
Oh,
there
you
is a
take that,
cordless around.
take that card. It's on.
Hello. Yeah. So I did Vipassana for some time, and I am a philosophy student, so I know a little about Vedanta philosophy, or like also a bit little about Advaita Vedanta tradition. So I have a problem because when you talk about the blending of Advaita Vedanta tradition and Vipassana tradition, like Vipassana, at least Vipassana, like
No,
form
no.
of meditation.
I'm talking not the tradition, to philosophy.
Especially when you talk about self-realization at one point, and the
Self-
blending of self-realization, self-inquiry, and the meditative form of Vipassana.
Application and meditation form.
Yeah. So I have problem, how can we blend it, like the application form of it? When I was doing Vipassana, I was only feeling the fleeting form of the sensations, all fleeting form of sensations. Then how can somebody who comes from the tradition of like people who do Vipassana tradition, who believes in the fleeting form of the sensation, when they start inquiring about the self, how can they will be get convinced to believe in an enduring self? Like,
so that is why the all the wellness therapy center and speakers, they are saying it will give a, you have to spend a time of 21 days, then only they can realize the changes within their mental, what before it is already mentioned that when you are entering to the center with maybe for only for relaxation, but before entering, what is your thought, and after taking the mindful practice of this mindful lifestyle practice with both all the structure, and after 21 days, what is your thought process? That is the process. That is absolutely the practice with process, application. And especially these are understandable for, we observed two centers are there running in Kolkata. One is 2 years and one is 7 years. They observed that these practices actually helped especially to drug addict, because from the adolescence, any kind of addiction with drug addict also, even phone addicted kids also. Kids, I am saying adolescents, they are kids for us. So situation is worst after post COVID. Before COVID, there are so many things, people can move here and there, but within the COVID period, situation were worst. Only the mental health practitioner knew how much, and how parents, how families were breaking and how suffered there. Sometimes situation was so worse that mothers are specially affected. Mothers tried for suicide due to family pressure. They are blaming mother, and the children is not listening. So this kind of therapies, which is help of Jnana Yoga, is the knowledge, and Dhyana, meditation, but it is difficult. Who is in severe mental stress, they are not able to sit even 5 minutes, even 2 minutes meditation is also not possible. That time we started with Anapanasati only for 5 times, 5 breathing. Then slowly it is more.
that I get, ma'am, but my question was that is it relevant, or is it actually very helpful that you have to blend these two traditions which are actually very divergent?
It is Aragya Niketan, we have 2-3 cases where we have got success. We have got success with 3 patients, 2 were drug addict and one was phone addict. We have got the success rate.